My wife and I grew up at the beach in LA. In July 2014, we moved from Southern California to Prescott, Arizona. Soon after that, I wrote a blog post named 17 Things I Learned Moving from Southern California to Prescott. Now it's 10 years later, and I want to share 7 things that I learned in those 10 years. The question is, am I happy now? Was it worth it? Was it the right decision to make? Well, you listen to these 7 things and you decide. Californians. Some people in Prescott don't like people from California, which I think is funny because half the people I know here are from California. There are 2 reasons that people in Prescott might not like people from California. Money is the first reason. If you sell your house in LA for $2.5 million and you bring it here to Prescott and you buy a house for $1 million, but that's in a place where people are used to spending $350 for a house, that's going to raise the cost of living for everybody in Prescott. Now, I understand that. I sold my house for over $1 million, and that's what enabled me to actually move to Prescott. But what happens is you end up being those rich Californians coming here and making things hard for the locals. Politics is the second reason that people might not like people from California. Prescott tends to be conservative, and California, not so much. We don't want people coming here from somewhere else and trying to change our politics and our policies and our laws. Now, if you're a liberal and you're not comfortable being around conservatives, maybe Prescott's not the right place for you. I will tell you that we're comfortable being around you. There are all kinds of people here from the entire political spectrum. Liberals have their voice as well. Everyone tends to get along here. We give each other a lot of space. It's not as divisive here as it is in California. I had a friend who had a bumper sticker on his car in LA. People threw things at his car because of that bumper sticker. We're not like that here. We're not going to do that. We might have a conversation. We might talk to you. We might have disagreement, but at least we're going to be polite about it. It's okay to be from California. Don't let me scare you off. Just be aware of the situation. Don't take it personally. Get along with the people that you're around and fit into the community, and you'll be fine here. But remember, there's a reason that you want to leave California. Don't bring that reason with you. Snow. I hate the snow. In LA, you would go surfing in the morning and you'd go drive to the snow in the afternoon. I believe that snow should be driven to. Now I live in the snow. Not a fan. January and February, we usually get 3, 4, 5 snowstorms. They're 3 to 6 inches of snow. Usually melts off in a day or two. Generally not a big deal. Every 4 to 5 years, we'll get the big one where we'll get 2 or 3 feet of snow. That takes a day or 2 or 4 to get worked out, but it all melts off eventually. It's not horrible. It's not Wisconsin or Wyoming. So I don't personally like it. Other people love it. Winter wonderland and all that. Not a fan, but I'm willing to deal with the snow, put up with it in order to live here and all the other benefits we have here. Tourists. There are so many tourists here. Now, granted, we discovered Prescott on a family vacation. We rolled into the courthouse. We were tourists. We came back every year, probably for 25 years before we moved here, because we love it so much here. So I have been a tourist in Prescott. I understand all that. But you tend to think, oh, I'm going to go live somewhere and it's going to be like you're on vacation. Well, living here is different than being a tourist here. Now, I'm not happy with the tourists. There's traffic and things are crowded. I don't go downtown on weekends because there's stuff going on. Now, I used to live by the beach. I was half a mile from the beach. I understand crowds on the 4th of July at the beach. Oh my gosh. Well, now I live in another vacation destination and there's just a lot of tourists. Traffic, not the 405 worthy traffic, but there's a lot of traffic here. So I used to complain about tourists in LA. Now I complain about tourists in Prescott. Food. Now, we've got some favorite restaurants in Prescott, but I really miss some of the food we had in LA. Specific places in LA. Randy's Donuts, Tito's Tacos. Just had a lot of favorite places. We had good sushi, we had good Mexican food. But we don't have a lot of kinds of food here. We don't have a lot of Greek food. We have a lot of Italian. We have no soul food. I miss M&M, come on. Aunt Kizzy's back porch, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I mean, I miss that stuff. And we've got good food, and it's kind of whiny to be complaining about the level of food, but don't come here expecting world class, oh my gosh, the best food ever. We have some nicer restaurants, and they do a pretty good job. Murphy's, Hacienda, Peacock Room, but I miss the food in LA. I miss it. Houses. One thing that really surprised me after we moved here, and I'm kind of looking around, I'm a real estate agent, and people ask me to come look at their house to list, and they'll give me an address. I'm like, I've never heard of that place before. There are a lot of places in Prescott that are all tucked away. There's a lot of different kinds of houses. There's everything from rundown little shacks. There are historic ones, Victorians downtown, you're probably familiar with, Craftsman style. But you go up north and it's flat, there's no trees, you have big ranches, a lot of acreage. You go south, you're up in the Ponderosa Pine in the mountains. I live in a mountain cabin at the end of a dirt road. Completely different lifestyle than living downtown. There's some higher end suburbs that are, sidewalks, paved roads and all that. A lot of dirt roads around here. But I'm just shocked at the sizes of houses, the acreage, how close are you to your neighbors. It's just way more diverse than I expected. There's some houses that I just looked at that were like multi-million-dollar, brand new, contemporary, could be in a magazine kind of homes here. So you can spend millions. You can get a good one for $800,000. I think our median price is about $600,000 right now. But there's a lot of different, don't think you're going to be buying a Victorian home. Look around, you have no idea what you're going to like until you get out there and poke around and look at all of the different kinds of homes. We got everything. Don't care. People don't care here. It's really different to live in a place where what you wear, what you drive, all those things don't really matter. Class and status don't really matter here. Matters a little bit to some people, but in LA, the car you drove and what you wore, the kind of job you had, that was everything. Everybody was working hard, spending a lot of time and effort and money to keep up with the Joneses, to be better than the next guy. What kind of house do you live? Where do you live? And people cared in LA about all that. We don't really care here. It's very laid back. I'm gonna say you got cowboys, you got old hippies, you got artists, you've got suburban housewives, you got all kinds of people here. And you got some money here too. There's some fairly rich people around. But people aren't caught up in that like they were in LA. It's a much more laid back kind of a place. You don't have to work so hard to be cool. I mean, of course, I'm always cool, but you don't have to work that hard to be cool. People still like you, and I think you're cool anyway. Prescott is relaxing. It's less anxious here. When we were driving back and forth, moving our stuff from LA to Prescott, did a lot of U-Haul trips moving our stuff. And as we drove through California, we'd get to the Colorado River, and on the California side, my wife would breathe out this sigh of relief. And that's kind of interesting. So we drive to Prescott, do our stuff, come back, and cross the Colorado River. And as we're getting closer to LA, I would hear her, and she would like cross her arms, and You could just tell she's getting stressed. And that just shows me. And then I would tell her about that. She acknowledged that. She would still do that. It was a subconscious act. Prescott is more relaxing than LA is. If you want to be happier, less stressed, it's slower, it's quieter, and it's easier to be grateful here. I'm not quite so entitled. I don't feel like I've got to keep up with everybody and prove to everybody how good I am. Now, I'm not saying that if you buy a townhome in Granville that you're going to achieve some sort of personal fulfillment and live happily ever after. There's sad, unhappy people every city in the world, no matter what. But I will say it's more conducive to being happier, to being less anxious, to being less stressed here in Prescott. It is relaxing here. And it's easier to be grateful. And I am grateful for everything that I have in life. I look around and I see nature around me. It's easy to be grateful in nature. There's some more nature flying around right now. I really am. You're killing me, bro. Okay, take two. Let's try this again. It is easier to be grateful when you're surrounded by nature, when you're in the trees, when you're in the forest. And there's forest all around Prescott. The city is slower, it's quieter, it's just less anxious, it's more relaxing. It's easier to be grateful here, and I think that gratitude is the key to happiness. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's to stay grateful.